Hello and welcome to CityBeat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. We have a great show lined up for you. It's a combination of the old and the new. So we've got the Junior Museum. What's old? 70 years old. That's old. But it's got a fabulous new sculpture we hope you'll take a look at. We've got our landfill. That's old, but it's got a new service where you can get some compost, some mulch, all sorts of interesting things. We've got old bike lockers, but there's a new twist. They're e-lockers now, which you use with a smart card. Plus, we have some of our regulars, the History Corner, dining at the Tersini table, and more. Do stay with us. The latest buzzword is e-lockers, and Amanda Jones, transportation coordinator for the city of Palo Alto, is going to tell us about those. So, Amanda, what's an e-locker?
An e-locker is a regular looking bicycle locker that you access with a smart card rather than a key.
And then if I have an e-locker, what's the advantage over any other kind of bike locker?
Well, if you have one bike locker that you rent, it's in one place and one place only. With e-lockers, there are 12 conveniently placed lockers in the downtown business district, and as long as there's an empty locker, you can use it.
So the idea is that these are available on demand, not reserved. And then how do I get into them?
Well, you would need to purchase a $20 smart card, and the fare is just loaded onto the card. And then when you go to the bicycle locker, you insert the card, and you can reserve in 5-hour increments. And it's 20 cents for 5 hours. And you put your bicycle in, and then when you get your bike out, if it's below that time, then you get that money back on your card.
Well, that's a really cool benefit. Now, why would Palo Alto, being at the forefront of all things bicycle and all things transportation, why would Palo Alto be doing this?
It's just another way to provide secure bicycle parking in the downtown, and they're in the 2 brand new parking garages downtown, both sets of 6 lockers. And it just makes it more convenient for people to use their bicycles to come downtown to do errands or shopping or dine.
Is this a local phenomenon, or are we looking at this being a more of a national program with e-lockers?
I can see this growing. Currently there's a system in El Cerrito, and there's also a system in Santa Cruz, and then in Palo Alto. You could call that a network if you want to go on a really long bike ride.
And how would I get more information about e-lockers?
Just go to the website on the screen, and you can also find out where to purchase your cards there, and you can even purchase the cards online.
Super. Thanks so much, Amanda. Virginia Chang Corrali is the president of the Friends of the Junior Museum and Zoo, and we're here to talk about this fabulous new sculpture. Virginia, tell me, how did that all happen?
Wow, we are so excited about it. So 70th birthday present from a wonderful donor who's been very supportive over the last few years, the Perry and Arriaga families, Dick Perry and John Arriaga. But really the vision started with Roxy Rapp, who is our vice president, about 5 years ago. He thought that there should be a sign that kind of told the world that we were here. And so he asked Darren Wax, who is the artist for the sign, who actually works for the city of Palo Alto, to just build something that she thought would be wonderful and it would really capture the spirit of the Junior Museum and Zoo. And she actually is the exhibit designer for the Junior Museum and Zoo, so it was a perfect fit. And she came up with a beautiful little model. And Carol Jansen, who is also a board member, took it to these donors, and they literally had it on their desk, playing with it for 2 years. And this year, for our 70th birthday, they said, I think we should build this sign. And that's exactly what they did, and it was up in about a month it was done.
You know, it is so beautiful, so colorful, and it just epitomizes the spirit of the place. Now, you mentioned the 70th anniversary. Tell me, how did that go, and what happened in 70 years?
Well, we've been in the community for 70 years with classes and camps that are just basically waiting room only, it seems like these days,
right.
You know, with 800 kids in the camps and another 600 to 800 kids on a waiting list, and the classes are full. So, you know, obviously the community loves it. So that's been going on for about 70 years, which has been great. And this year, for our 70th birthday, we celebrated by throwing a big birthday party. And it was basically a fundraising event for us, and it was really the first one of its kind. It was basically a silent auction, and we did great. We had a staff of about 2 people working on it, and we raised about a little over 36,000. So we're very pleased with the first year results, and hopefully we'll be able to piggyback on this success and do it again. Obviously we did some things with the Black and White Ball Committee, which helped tremendously, and it was such a good fit because the money that they raised went to help the Palo Alto Foundation for Education, which was, something that the Junior Museum and Zoo is totally for in terms of education and kids and everything. So it was great.
Now let's move ahead. You've got 70 strong years of history. What do you have in the future for your strategic plan? What can we look forward to from this wonderful institution?
Well, we are currently in a public-private partnership with the City of Palo Alto to look at possibly renovating this current building or doing a whole new building. So it's something that we're looking at right now, and I think that the sign is a great example of how we can really move forward and make it a more exciting and vibrant place. So we're taking a look at that right now, and the city council especially, and the city manager's office have been just wonderful and very supportive of what we've been doing. So that's tune in for that.
Well, thanks so much, Virginia. It's been really wonderful.
Thank you.
If you're a person of a certain age, you remember the movie The Graduate and the keyword plastics. Now the keyword is thermoplastics, and Louis Paris is going to tell us something about that. Louis, what is thermoplastic?
Thermoplastic is a material that we use to put down street legends, stop legends, crosswalk, keep clear, instead of a paint products, which is the old-fashioned way. And this material is applied at a high temperature, and it adheres to the concrete surface itself, and it has greater longevity compared to a paint product, about 5 to 7 years compared to maybe a year with the standard traffic paint.
Now tell me, how does the whole process work? I see that you've got these trucks and there's a lot of heat here. So how do you start the process?
We have a machine that's called the pre-melter, and we put the powdered material into this pre-melter, and it's heated there up to 425 degrees. And once it's heated to that temperature, we put it in what we call a cart, and that cart has a heater. And then from the cart, we apply it directly to the asphalt. For like a crosswalk, we just put it straight on. For to do the legends, like stop or keep clear, we have aluminum stencils that we lay the material on, and then that forms the letters and spells out the letters on the streets.
And for those stencils and things, there must be other preparation. Like, do you have to sweep the street? Do you have to scrape the stencil? How does that all work?
Yes, for a concrete street, we have to apply a primer. But for fairly new asphalt streets, we clean the street. We set up traffic control so there's no traffic running through our work zone. And then we sweep it and blow it off and put the material directly onto the asphalt.
Now you mentioned something earlier about retro reflectivity. That's what it was. Can you explain that for our residents?
Retro reflectivity is that you can see the material at night, and the material that we put down, it is retro reflective. It itself will reflect light back to the person viewing it. And we also put down glass beads on top of the material, which helps with the retro reflectivity.
Well, it sounds like such an incredible process, preparing the streets, preparing the material. So you guys do a great job. How many are in your crew?
This crew runs with 3 men.
Okay. Well, thank you and your crew for such a great job.
You're welcome.
It's at the Tersini table time, and I'm with Josephine to talk about bakeries in and around the Palo Alto area. Josephine, we're at the Prolific Oven here on Waverly. So what do you like best about us here?
The Prolific Oven has fabulous pumpkin pies, a wonderful chocolate cake, and an assortment of many other sweets that are made right here in the store. They also have light lunches, and it's a great place with a lot of good seating to have a meeting for breakfast, lunch, or any other kind of a meeting, daytime or evening.
And that's true because it certainly is doing a good business
It
right
is
now.
very busy.
Now, what else here in Palo Alto? Let's talk about Whole Foods and what their specialty is.
Whole Foods are a more organic bakery. They have all kinds of breads and all kinds of pastries. And their specialty could be a raspberry hazelnut or also one of their chocolate cakes, which are baked daily, I believe. Yes.
Wow. And so if we move now to the Stanford Shopping Center and some of the more international flair there, what would you recommend?
There's one place called La Baguette, and they've been there for a long time selling fabulous baguettes in addition to other breads and other French pastries. And a lovely outdoor dining area that's in the center of the piazza and is a great deal of fun for people watching and pastry enjoying.
The brioche there is my favorite.
And very few places in this area make a brioche that's really, really good.
It's really buttery. Then let's say if we move down to Town and Country Shopping Center and then down to California Avenue, what are your recommendations?
Town and Country, Douce Francais is there with an assortment, of course, of all French pastries, espresso coffee, and light lunches. And then there is, at California Street, there are two. One is Harmony Bakery on California Street, and the other is Palo Alto Baking Company, which is a baking company and cafe, and their specialty is more on the Austrian side with Linzer torts and German chocolate cake, and also nice light lunches.
But now, you've mentioned French and more Austrian and organic and whole food, but we forgot your favorite, which is Italian.
Il Fornaio, which the Il Fornaio, the name means the baker, and they certainly have a great bakery with all kinds of breads, and their pumpkin pies at Thanksgiving are also good. But they also have many cookies, and one of my favorites is their chocolate roll cookie with a filling, which is like a giant truffle, and just fabulous with a cup of espresso or a glass of Sangiovese wine.
Oh, that sounds so wonderful. So if I needed some dining tips or baking tips, who do I call?
You can contact me by email at any time. I'd be happy to respond to any questions or give you any suggestions you might need.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If it's art you're after, come to 1155 Waverly Street in Palo Alto and take a look at the sculptures done by Rochelle Ford. And let's meet her right now. Rochelle, tell me something first about the house itself, which is just fabulous.
Well, thank you. The house was built in 1920, and we just fell in love with it, having been from the East Coast where everything was very, very different. And we painted it white inside and out 5 times when we were both corporate executives. And when I decided to become an artist, I thought, well, let's just jazz it up with some color. So we picked some Martha Stewart colors just to make it socially acceptable and went to town. And
Well, I don't know. I would call these Frida Kahlo colors myself.
all right, well, truthfully, they were Martha Stewart paints.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, well, that'll give it a little bit more respectability in Professorville. Yes, I agree, it is.
Okay. Now, you consider yourself a sculptor, and most of the work you have here is metal. Can you tell me something about that?
Yes. My father was an automobile dealer and always wanted my brother and I to go into the business, and I jokingly told him the closest I could ever come was to make metal sculptures out of recycled wrecked automobiles, which isn't exactly what he had in mind, but he died a proud man. So everything's made out of recycled materials, and I make pieces from earrings and jewelry to 3-story high sculptures, and I have things in lots of international countries and corporate collections, so I'm real pleased with the success I've earned through my hard work.
Well, excellent. And let's take a walking tour around the outside so we can see some of these pieces.
Sounds good.
Rochelle, the piece that we're looking at now looks like a human form. Can you tell me something about it?
It certainly is. It was made out of recycled material from the Berkeley Oakland fire. A dear friend's a landscape architect, and she was doing design for the landscape and garden show and wanted me to come up and live with her for a couple weeks and bring my equipment and find material from the burned zone that I made into sculptures. And I thought, well, what better symbol than a pregnant woman to symbolize the rebirth of the area that was going to take part soon, and that was the theme of her landscape and garden show design. So this medal came all bent exactly like this from the fire, and I gathered a whole bunch of pieces and then tried to decide what I would make, and she came to mind, and here she is in all her glory.
And now you have another smaller piece over here on the ledge about the Berkeley fire. So let's take a look at that one.
I do. This one is very different. As I was gathering this metal, I kept seeing all this shiny material in the ground, and I just kept plucking it up and putting it in a box, not having any idea what it was or what I would do with it. And when I got it home, I realized these were melted aluminum windows, and just the thought of a fire melting down a window with pieces of glass in it to something that size, that no matter how bad something is, I like to believe that something good comes of it. So as bad as that fire was, I tried to take a symbol from the fire and recycle it into something that would be beautiful despite the devastation.
Well, that's great. Now let's go and look at some of the other outside sculptures.
All right, I'm right behind you.
Rochelle, earlier you mentioned that your father was in the auto business, and so a lot of your stuff is from auto parts. But how do you blend your landscaping with, sculptures like this?
Well, when we first moved in, having lived in the East all of our life, we decided we had to have a lawn because everybody back East has a lawn. So we spent literally 10 years of our life trying to get a lawn to grow under the huge oak tree. That didn't work. So we decided, well, we'd try to get something maintenance-free, easy, low water, to be ecologically correct. And I thought, well, you don't have to mow gravel, so that'll be good. And we took everything that we had in the yard and recycled it, and then added a few things. There's some roofing tile that we used to edge the garden. And I thought it would just be a good backdrop for the art. I didn't want anything that flowered. I wanted native California things. And I think it works out really well. A friend's a landscape architect, and I described what I wanted, and I think he did a wonderful job designing the yard and making it easy for my husband and I to maintain, and made a good background for the art also.
Well, that is certainly true. The art shows up beautifully, but now we want to see some of the art inside, and I want to thank you so much for showing this, and we'll now just take a quick look at some of the things inside, okay?
It was my pleasure, and let's go inside.
Super.
Okay.
It's the History Corner with Steve Steiger, and he tells me he does not remember the stagecoach, but we're going to find out. Steve, let's talk about trains. I guess the stagecoach was an adjunct to train service. How did this all happen?
Well, I mean, the stagecoach was the form of transportation from the days of early statehood of California, 1850s. In the early 1860s, there was a need to build railroads to replace it because it was a more efficient form of transportation. And there were a number of railroads being built throughout the state. The first one was from Sacramento to Folsom. But in 1862 or so, one started from San Francisco being built down to San Jose. By 1863, it had reached Mayfield, which is the California Avenue area of Palo Alto today.
And would its main purpose have been transporting people, so I would meet my Auntie M, or was it mostly to transport produce?
Well, both. I mean, freight was obviously a big reason why any railroad was built, but to transport one person from San Francisco to San Jose would be a long 8-hour journey on a stagecoach. You could do it in an hour and a half, almost the speed of actually today, minus the bullet trains from San Francisco to San Jose.
Yeah.
And so if someone was going to come and visit you in Palo Alto, let's say in 1900, they would come by train because El Camino Real, the main road, was a very miserable way to travel. And so you would walk up or bicycle up to the station to meet your friends. If it was your Aunt M, you might hire a carriage because she would undoubtedly have lots of luggage to come back to your home.
Okay, so now I've got Auntie M, and time has gone by, and Palo Alto wasn't started until 1899, so was there a Stanford connection with the trains?
No, the train actually predates even Leland Stanford's interest in there. He, of course, built the Transcontinental Railroad, or at least the western half of it, which was completed in 1869. Later, he moved to San Francisco and bought up land and built a summer home down on the peninsula alongside the railroad that his company eventually did buy out. So it became Central Pacific, later Southern Pacific. But the railroad actually its construction had nothing to do with Leland himself.
So there must have been some great heyday of train service up and down the peninsula. Was it during the war or some other time?
Well, actually, almost from the beginning. I mean, in the early days of Palo Alto, the 1890s, 1900, and through the 20s, lots of people in Palo Alto used the train to commute to San Francisco. And so that was a major source of transportation. Even when the automobiles came in, it was still easier to take the train. The train was a very efficient way to get lots of people into the city. The Bayshore Highway, which began in the late 20s, early 30s, reached Palo Alto by 1932, and it improved transportation, but still the train was popular. It really wasn't until after World War II that the use of the train began to drop.
But we'll probably see that increase now with the bullet train. So how would people get more information about transportation and trains here in Palo Alto?
Well, the early history of it would be here at the main library at the history desk, where I can be here to answer your questions on Tuesday evenings and Thursday afternoons.
Super. Thanks so much, Steve.
You're welcome.
Hi, welcome to the Organics Yard. We're located out here at the Palo Alto landfill, and this is a new setup we have here. It's great for the gardeners, and I'm here to introduce John Connolly. He's the supervisor of the landfill, and we'll ask him some questions about the Organics Yard. Hi, John. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Wendy?
Doing good. So what exactly is the Organics Yard?
Well, the Organics Yard is a combination of our compost that we generate here on site, and we have blended it with specific materials that have been formulated just for the soils of Palo Alto. And as you can see what we have here, we have our topsoil and our soil conditioners, potting mix, and we have other materials. We have wood fines that's good for a mulch, and we have decorative deco mulch. And if you have some sandy, some hard pan problems, we have our sandy loam that can break up the soils that might create a problem for you gardeners out there.
Oh, that's really great. So there's a lot of different choices, but basically the blends that you come up with, they all have the Palo Alto compost that's made here at the landfill from the yard trimmings brought from the residents, correct?
That's correct. This is the residents bring in their compost and we grind it up and we turn it into a compost that we mix with our blends that you've seen here that we've talked about, and it makes a real fine additive for the soils for Palo Alto and the gardeners. We'd love to have you come on down and test what we've got here.
So exactly how do I get this stuff? What's the process?
Well, we're open 7 days a week, 8 to 5 o'clock, and you can come down, you can bag it yourself, or if you have a truck or trailer, we have a loader here that we can load it up for you, any size that you have, and also for your convenience, we have delivery for a nominal fee.
So if they have any other questions, more intricate, more about deliveries or about the special blends that you have, who would they contact?
They can contact myself at 329-2113 here at the landfill, or the landfill staff will be more than happy to answer any and all questions regarding the compost and any questions you have about the specific products that we do have.
Great, thanks a lot, John. So I want to encourage you to come on out to the Organics Yard. We have a lot of great things here for you, from mulches to soil amendments. And this is Wendy Hediger reminding you to reduce, reuse, recycle, and buy recycled.
Family Resources is your link to recycling. Paths for biking, trails for hiking, childcare, street repair, volleyball, city hall, dog runs for dog walkers, support groups for need-to-talkers, softball leagues, soccer leagues, swimming pools, all sorts of schools, the Palo Alto Arts Center, assistance for the housing renter, recreation, information, public access cable station, ice skaters, mediators, senior care, food for you, children's theater, the petting zoo, volunteer opportunities in your community, hotlines, warm lines, bus lines, parks, libraries, May, fate, healthcare, and the arts, neighborhood and civic groups, tennis courts, basketball hoops, services for the disabled, where to find a picnic table, multicultural and ethnic festivities, foreign language, accessibility, the Junior Museum, the people next door, emergency services, all this and much, much more. It's all here right on our website. You can rock the house when you click that mouse. Be a paragon. Come on and log on now.
Thanks for watching CityBeat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. And a special thanks to our videographer, Justin Atkin, and the services of the Media Center. Remember, if you have any questions or comments about the show, be sure to send them to the email address listed at the end of the credits. See you next time.